if you're allowed to talk about them in a good way, if you bring up anybody's name in a good way, you're allowed to bring them up if there's criticism. That as long as it's not harassment or slander, I can't remember the name of the law.
I have it.
But
I
it,
can give it to you.
it went up through the court
Marioso.
and was approved. I can't think of the,
But you're taking away his public speech. If someone's an elected official,
you can't
someone has
harass
the
or
right
slander.
to talk. You know, that is part of being an elected official, or whatever, that, you know, it's just like anything that's going on campaign wise.
So, as with Mr. Lofgren's mention of the reciprocity in this discussion and our solicitor's efforts to quell this discussion, we will still be moving to executive session for considerations of personnel and student-related matters as it pertains
Cowards.
to the Chappaqua Plain School District.
Every
We
last
would like
one
to
of
But the
them.
board's not personnel,
We
they're
would like to
elected
speak to the
officials.
media.
They are not paid, so this is what this is regard, so I
Talk
think
with
he
her
has a right to
afterwards.
talk about the board.
And
That
we're
is his
affording
public
him
right.
He is being afforded the
Do it here, or we can do it in the
opportunity to
media.
discuss the matter of community relations
Can we
with
ask
this
him, if the individual that he's referring to is an employee of the district or a public official? But I think you should give us an example of a public official,
Well,
an
so
elected official.
it's an undefined term, but that section of the act was previously used for school board members when it came to, so there was a section to the act, there was a section of the act that was used when it went to appointing new school board members as public officials, and they changed the act, I wanna say in the nineties, to add that you can no longer use that section when it comes to appointment of school board, directors. You know, they were doing straw polls, things like that behind closed doors. They said you can't use that section of the act anymore for that purpose. They didn't say school board members aren't public officials, they just added a line that said you can no longer use this for purposes of the appointment of school board members.
Okay, can we ask him if the individual is a public official or a school board member or an employee of the district?
Well, I think that's what Kevin was asking for clarification before ahead of time, is to kind of figure out, what we were dealing with. But
That wasn't the question that was asked, just for the record.
Correct. The question that was asked was clarification as to the content and nature of what you were discussing.
Correct.
Read the,
Which-
He's arrogant.
listen, when we fill out the
Here, Mrs. Krupner, please.
financial.
I will restate the question. Is the nature of your presentation on community relations related to a school board member or a matter of person or personnel within the district?
School board member.
Marshall and Musto.
Yes.
I mean, I still think, based on how the cases were interpreted before, that would be a public officer, since it's a public officer for purposes of the, financial disclosure
I'll find
section,
it.
all of the other sections in prior cases before they made that proviso in the, Sunshine Act was
Oh.
using it for purposes of appointing school
There
board.
you go.
Censoring critics.
But what about Marshall versus Amuso Act? Wouldn't that allow him to speak under that? I talked about this 2 years ago too at the board meeting. This has been brought up before about his right to speak in a public forum.
I mean, that was settled in 2022 for $300,000 after the district wouldn't allow a person to speak about a member of the board.
We can, one second. I don't know what all we're going to get into, so that's the difficult thing at the front hand, to know what we're even talking about.
That right there
Unfortunately, you know,
says that he
the
is not.
privacy or confidentiality rights of the individual lies with the individual or the public official.
But
Well, you could let
This
him,
with
occurred in
that
a pub-
being
if this
said, it
occurred in a
occurred
public place,
Just kind of
there's no
public
right to
record.
privacy.
it occurred in a
None.
public setting
No
around
ex-
many people, including students.
Yeah, I don't know.
well, can you let him speak, and then if it becomes an issue, if there's something too personal?
I guess I don't understand why you've made a determination as our solicitor, as a board, we are going to follow the recommendations of our solicitor. It's not a thing that we have a forum to debate that.
He didn't give a recommendation.
You are, Luke, but we're just trying to determine if that person that he's speaking of is officially considered personnel under executive session. If he says yes, then
Well, it wouldn't be an employee, I think it would be the public official, public officer
But
section.
you don't know.
Okay, See him in court.
If he wants to say that he is not going to be talking about a public official.
If he
or
doesn't
a
use
school
the
board
name,
member. No, if he says he will not be talking about one, or a member of the staff, then he can present.
You're
If
allowed
he
to.
says he will be talking about one, even if he's not naming them, I think we are making an appropriate choice.
I don't think.
No,
I don't
it's
think
not.
legally.
Not legally appropriate.
We can
thinking of
figure out,
yourself.
we can start an executive session, figure out what you're saying, find out if it's appropriate for executive
No.
session or not. I don't know where we're starting or where we're going.
You're not
We'll
gonna do it.
open back up or not.
Is that recommendation?
I think we all know where it's going.
I
Come
think
on
that's
now.
A good way to start, yes. Since you noted that you're identifying a specific person, that's sort of the triggering point for going into the executive session.
So we will go into executive session to hear
Cowards.
the nature and logistics of the consideration, and we will reconvene with the public should it be deemed necessary to do so. With that, we will move to executive session. I do appreciate your time and your considerations, and please stand by.
Stand by. Stand by.